Hi, Jerry Bechtold here. We're going to talk about the mineral extractors today. There's variations in them that we can actually do tanks that are standard threaded tanks. We can do commercial units. We can do non-threaded tanks. We can also do the specialty tanks such as the chambered tanks. So to start with, let's talk about the standard mineral extractor, and that's what this unit is right here. This extractor, you screw onto the head. The shaft can be lowered down into the bed to the point where it will bottom out because of this modified T that's on the bottom. That modified T will hit the gravel bed in the bottom of the tank and it'll stop there, meaning that you're going to take everything above it, which is the resin or the carbon or whatever it is, the media. The media doesn't seem to make much difference except a little bit of time differential in how long it takes to get it out. But generally speaking, on resin, you're looking at approximately 1 minute per cubic foot. Now, the way it works, one other thing, if you want to take the gravel out, you merely pull this modified T off, then your shaft will go down into the gravel. And when you're extracting it, what you want to do is you want to pull this shaft up periodically, removing, pull the shaft up, let it get a good shot of resin or other media, then push it back down so that your gravel is not 100% clogging into the tubes. And the tubes, the exit point on this unit are right here. So with this unit here, you're going to pump the media in a slurry. It's not a suction type thing where you're using water to create a vacuum. You're using pressure to push this out. So the media in all of our extractors will come out as a heavy slurry, very little water. As an example, if you took a cubic foot and put it in a bucket, you'd have maybe 1 or 2 inches of water on top of your media bed, roughly 1 or 2 inches. You control the flow right here. This is a hose fitting right here. Screw a garden hose in, now you control the flow. What you're wanting to do with an extractor is get a full flow, not a full high pressure flow. A slow, full flow in the hose to get it out where you can just run it continuously. And that's controlled by the valve here. The amount of water going in is going to control the amount of media coming out. Now, this is on our standard extractor. If we're going to use this on a 4-inch opening tank, which normally is a commercial unit, we developed what's called a offset extractor adapter. Being offset allows us on a commercial unit to run this shaft down alongside the existing riser tube that's already in the unit. We do not have to remove it on a commercial unit. On a 2.5-inch opening unit, you do have to remove the riser tube. There's just not enough room to offset it to get down along the riser tube. So this being screwed on here, like so, will now give you 4-inch opening to screw onto the tank. The height differential in there is primarily for the slight offset makeup on this going down alongside the riser tube. The extractor that we're going to explain now is called the Hague mineral extractor. Basic unit is the same as the standard mineral extractor. You see this portion down to here, it's the same. So in order to utilize this as a Hague unit, first of all, we're going to take this off for simplicity purposes. This extractor has a modified adapter on it. So we're going to take this shaft apart. We're going to extract with this extractor now the top chamber in the Hague unit. The top chamber we get into, on the top of the valve there's a plug, a very coarse threaded plug. You take that out, this screws into that plug, allows us to move this up and down to get to the bottom of that top chamber. You got your parts there, but then to convert it back to a conventional extractor, you remove this adapter. Now you've released the 2.5 inch thread. So theoretically we can take this just like it is and screw it onto a conventional 2.5/8 thread, and we've got a conventional mineral extractor. Put all the other things back on it, we're back to Hague. Now let's go one step further. The Hague unit, of course you've got to have this on here in order to be a complete extractor for a conventional tank. Hague's top chamber, you'd remove this and you're dealing with this. This is the Eco non-threaded tank adapter, which converts the conventional extractor to a non-threaded tank. With the ring and the adapter you can do that. Now, these adapters, by the way, are all available separately. The adapters are that will screw on to and convert any 2.5 inch thread. In other words, let me explain it this way. If you had a tank, an old Eco tank, and we're about to throw it away, with this adapter you could convert that to 2.5/8 threads and put any valve on it you wanted. It's an option, and we do have people that do that, but it's totally an option and available to you if you care to use it. Let's talk about the Vortech mineral extractor now for the chambered tanks. The chambered tanks have a mid plate or multiple plates in it. This extractor, and I'll pull this thing out right here to show you what we're doing. Okay, this is what the unit looks like. Now, we had to offset this thing, and we're on 2.5 inch thread. We did not have a lot of room, so we had to go to a much smaller shaft, because now remember, this has to go down alongside the existing riser tube that we cannot remove in a Vortech tank. So we ended up with a smaller pipe, but it will work. It is slower. It's going to take you about 3 times longer to get the media out of this tank than it would if you had our other standard extractor, but the point is we can get it out and do it well. So with that being said, this is the actual extractor part. So before we get started on that part of it, we've just removed the media in the top section of this tank. Now we want to remove the second media out of the bottom of the tank. And we've got a lock system here where this tank is, the top tank is separated from the bottom portion of the tank. So in order to get, when this is empty, in order to get to that tank, we've got to use this. It goes over the extractor, or the riser tube, excuse me. Fits down into the chambered area. And now you unlock it like so to the point where you can pull it out. So we set this aside. Now we can go in with our extractor again, go down through the plate, extract the media out of the bottom section of the tank. Now we've got a completely empty tank, but we have to put the media back in it. So in order to do that, we merely take this handle off. This is actually a fill tube. It becomes a fill tube. So when this is back over this, when we take it down to that point, you can put a funnel on this, put just about anything to get the media. You know. to the point where we can put it in the bottom of the tank. You put that measured amount of media in the tank. Now you pull this back up. Put your part like so. Go back on top. Drop it down. Lock it in. Okay, now you remove this chamber or fill tube. This is used, the fill tube is used basically to fill the bottom chamber of the tank. Once you get that filled, take this off. Now you can put a piece of tape on this. Now you can put a funnel up here. This will extend up into the funnel. Now you put your top bed in here with the same funnel that you used here to fill the bottom. We'd like to talk now about what we call our flex shaft. This is used when you're dealing with a low ceiling, tall tank and a low ceiling. How am I going to get this shaft to flex enough on a high ceiling, or a low ceiling and a high tank to get it in the tank, because it's rigid? So what we came up with is this. This is a hinged center shaft. And as you can see, it bends. So you can put each individual piece in as you need it. Let's explain how you get it in the tank. You merely take this unit and you run it down into the bed. And if you're having a ceiling problem, you flex it, bring it down in here. Now let's say that we're down to this level and you can't push it down any further. If that happens, you merely pull it up, flex it over. Now I'm going to pull this out and show you what we need to do at that point. So we're going to set that right here. And now I'm going to show you how to change shafts. The important thing here is to remember that this white cap is covering a cavity here that's filled with silicone. So if I pull this shaft out right here, I'm going to be wearing silicone. The way that you overcome that problem is make sure that this plug is flat down so that your cavity is not going to leak out any material. So we're going to pull this shaft out like so. Set that aside. We take this shaft, put it in. Like so. Now we go back to the tank. We run this down to the point where we hit the bed. Now we can move it up and down. Screw it on there, hook the garden hose up to it, which is done right here. Now you can extract whatever is from this point up. Will remove. Come out your flex tubing. Now when you get it to that point, you've got to take it back off again, and you'll start adding the other shafts that you need to get to the bottom of the tank. We've got enough for the average, all of these smaller 2.5 inch opening tanks. This can also be used on the commercial unit. And the piping is such that you'll be able to go as high as a 72 inch tank, height-wise. So you just keep adding these, but of course you've got to change the shaft. And remove this like we did before, add another section, see if that'll go down all the way. If it will, you're good to go. When you've got your tank empty, and here again I'll explain this, that T is on there to bottom out at the gravel. If you don't want to bottom out and you want to take the gravel out, just merely take this T, this modified T, pull it off. Now you're going to have your shaft go directly into your gravel bed, and it'll remove it all. When you're taking gravel and media out at the same time, it's It's really a good idea to work this shaft up and down. 2-3 inches is plenty, where you're going to get a shot of media, the smaller, lighter material, in between the shots of gravel. So that's pretty much how it works. For more details, contact your rep. He'll be glad to help you and explain this in more detail or answer any questions that you might have.